Hello everyone, my name is Deepak and I'm a tax code advisor. And today I'm going to talk about the simplest way to start a business in the United States. And this simplest way is commonly known as sole proprietorship. But for some reason or the other, it is often either ignored by people or oftentimes people are oversold into other type of business entities. So for example, somebody might have told you that set up an S corporation, set up a C corporation, set up an LLC, and people do that. And every year, I'm doing these hundreds of tax returns, and when I look at them, many times people are overpaying in taxes because of one simple reason, that they are set up on a wrong entity. Now, oftentimes, if you go on YouTube or even Google something and you ask, hey, I'm a small business owner, what might be a good entity for me? Most common answer you're going to get is an S-Corp. But that is not necessarily true. For some people, it makes no sense. So today I was speaking with a gentleman and he goes like, Deepak, why is it that so many people are pushed into setting up corporate structures? And is there a reason why I should be a sole proprietor? Is there a reason why I should not really even think about other entities? Because nobody ever talks about that. So I'm like, okay, that's a good one. Maybe I should share that with everybody else because I think this is going to help so many people out there. Now, before I begin and I break it down and explain it to you, I want to remind you guys that anything that you hear in today's video is not a tax advice. If you're looking for a proper tax advice, you need to set up a consultation. I want to talk to you. I want to understand which kind of business you are in, what your goals are, what are you going to be doing in future, and then together we come up with a good business structure. You cannot make decision based on something that you hear in a video. So if you're with me, then let's talk about that. So first of all, what does it take to set up a sole proprietorship? Well, nothing really. I mean, your kids can wake up tomorrow and they can say, look, we're going to open up a lemonade stand, and they are sole proprietor. You can decide to go drive for Uber or DoorDash, or maybe coach somebody on the internet, maybe over a Zoom call, or start up some sort of side hustle in your garage. You are a sole proprietor. So it doesn't really require you to do anything. Most other business structures like LLCs, S-Corp, C-Corps, they have a lot of compliance requirement. What's interesting about those is many times I will see people set up these complicated structures, but they're not compliant anyway. They haven't really done anything to treat themselves like a corporation. For example, let's imagine you're an S-Corp or a C-Corp. If you're not really doing your meeting minutes, if you don't have an operating agreement, if you are not holding regular meetings to decide how is your business going to operate, then are you really a corporation? Oftentimes the answer is no. So even though people have set up these complicated entities, they're not necessarily helping them out from a liability point of view anyway. But when it comes down to sole proprietorship, there is no compliance requirement. You don't need to really hold the meetings. You don't really need to do any of that stuff. You can just simply raise your hand, say like, I'm a sole proprietor, and you are a sole proprietor. You can go do business. Like tomorrow, let's say your kid says, I'm going to become an influencer. I'm going to help out a lot of people and I'm going to make $10,000. No problem. He can be a sole proprietor. That's okay. So setting up a sole proprietorship is so easy. There's no compliance requirement. So why is it that so many people go for these more complicated tax entities? And the answer is because oftentimes there's a tax benefit linked to these entities. But people, when people talk about these other tax benefits, they forget that sole proprietorship has list of tax benefits as well. For example, many times when we want to deploy a strategy where you pay your kids, so that way your kids can set up a Roth IRA account, well, that does require oftentimes a sole proprietorship. So it does work. Sometimes I'll meet with clients who have a big medical bill. Maybe they have an elderly parent, maybe somebody in family is really sick and they have to pay a lot of money out of their pocket and they're not able to write it off as a medical expense, right? Remember, now we have higher standard deductions. Those good old days are gone now where we can itemize everything. Now there's a limit. You need to expense minimum so much before even you can itemize certain deductions. So in those cases, once again, I like sole proprietorship. I'm able to write off certain expenses that I cannot write off in other ways. So again, a great benefit. Somebody who wants to test out new ideas, but he cannot hurt somebody. So why should I burden that person with expensive entities that, for example, oftentimes somebody might say, well, set up an LLC. Okay, you can set up an LLC, but certain states, like for example, California, they're going to bill you minimum $800 to set up an LLC. And then on top of that, most people are not even working in California. Maybe he lives in California and he's doing business, let's just say in New Jersey or New York. Now he needs another LLC over there. Again, more complicated. But if he was a sole proprietor, he doesn't have to worry about all that compliance. So there's a lot of expense associated with it. So now, what can we do if I'm just starting out with a new business? Should I just go ahead and set up a LLC, or should I just start up as a sole proprietor? I think the large part of that answer depends upon is success of your business, income that you're going to generate out of that business, and a liability involved in that business. For example, if you are going to try out a new venture and that venture is a food truck, okay? If it's a food truck, there's a possibility that somebody can have an allergic reaction, somebody can get hurt from your services. So probably does make sense to limit your liability by setting up a proper LLC. On the other hand, if you're teaching somebody math over a Zoom, then your liability is bare minimum. So for somebody teaching on Zoom, I would probably just say, hey, you know what, stick with sole proprietor until you have enough income to justify upgrading you to an LLC, S-Corp, or C-Corp. Versus if you have a food truck, even if you don't have single penny revenue, I would probably say set up an LLC, because I'm really more concerned about your personal liability, right? So it really, you have to kind of look at things. But for most people who are just doing some simple side hustle, they cannot hurt somebody else, they're not making a lot of money, in those cases, sole proprietorship does make sense. Why do people ignore it? I don't know. I think it's, there's really not a whole lot of money to be made helping you set up a sole proprietorship, right? Because you become sole proprietorship the day you decide you're a sole proprietor. You could raise your hand today and say, I'm a sole proprietor, and so be it. That's it. There's no additional cost to it. Now, when I say that you don't need to do anything, I want to clarify one thing, and that is your business license requirements. It is possible that in a certain city, in a certain county, you might have local business requirements that have nothing to do with what kind of entity you are. You could be a C-Corp and you will still have to get that license. You could be an S-Corp, you still get that license. If you're a sole prop, you still have to get that license. So in all of those cases, you still need that license. So make sure you do check with your local city and ask them what kind of license they need. Now, the next part, when a lot of people get afraid with sole proprietorship, is like, well, yeah, but I don't want to give away my home address, or I don't want to tell people to come to my home. Well, you don't have to give away your home address. You can get a mailbox. We offer some virtual mailbox services to some affiliate partners of ours, so I can definitely help you connect with them. And you can get a virtual mailbox, and that becomes your address, So you don't have to necessarily give away your home address. And I'm saying that because a lot of time people are sold on these expensive entities because of privacy reasons. One, for sole proprietorship, you can still have a lot of privacy by deploying some small techniques to ensure that people doesn't really figure out things that you don't want them to know, such as your home address. So anyhow, I hope that makes it a little bit easy. So if you are just brand new into a business, you want to try things out, you're not going to hurt somebody, there's not a whole lot of income in there, then start out with sole proprietorship. There's nothing wrong with that. And as your business grows, as we think that, okay, there is some liability associated with it, we need to worry about some asset protection, we need to worry about some taxes, now you have sufficient income in the business, we work on it, all right? Now, remember, this is all about sole proprietorship. Sometimes people see partnerships as sole proprietorship, and that gets very complicated. For example, yesterday I kind of gave an idea about sweat equity, that hey, somebody already had a business, maybe they are a construction worker, or maybe they just buy a particular property, upgrade it, and then resell it. And I explained to you, oftentimes these people are looking for somebody to help them out with their business, and they might come to you and say, hey, I'm going to offer you 25% equity into that business, or a 50% equity into the business. And I shared with you how that can turn into a big tax bill. So do go watch that video if you come across those things. But partnerships are even more complicated. So I'm going to do maybe I should do a separate video on partnerships altogether, because there's a lot of little nuances there. But I hope at the very least, one thing you're going to walk out with this video is sole proprietorships are just as important of a business entity as any other entity. It's just, when I look at these entities, whether it's sole proprietorship, S-Corp, C-Corps, LLCs, or professional LLC or something like that, I just see them as a tool. And as you know, with any tool, every tool is useful. The only question is, for what purpose are you using the tool? You use the wrong tool for the wrong purpose, obviously you're not going to get the desired result. So, S-Corps are important, C-Corps are important, other entities are important, but so is sole proprietorship. So don't leave it out. Like I said, especially a couple of major benefits, like those being able to write off health benefits is a big one. Being able to pay our kids without having to deal with Social Security and Medicare taxes, that is big. And not having to worry about compliance, that is huge. Easy to set up, that is good. Tax returns are a lot simpler, so we save money on filing your tax preparation as well. That's good. So there are a lot of great reasons why you would consider sole proprietorship. Some of the reasons why you would not consider sole proprietorship would be is that, maybe you have a lot of income. So maybe you're doing maybe $30,000, $40,000 in net income. Remember, I'm not talking about revenue, I'm talking about net income. That means after your revenue, you paid off all your expenses. If you're having $30,000, $40,000 left over, now perhaps it's time to upgrade you to something else. Another reason why that's not really good is asset protection. So if you are already have a house, maybe you have some other business going on and you're worried about your assets, and you happen to be in a business that creates some sort of accidental liability on you, that means you can possibly hurt somebody else, then in that case, you should really look into setting up a different entity just for that purpose only. So those are my thoughts on sole proprietorship. I hope you like them. Those of you guys who are new to my channel, my name is Deepak. I'm a tax code advisor. So if you have any kind of a tax question, you're looking for ways to reduce your taxes, you want to better understand how to structure yourself so that way you have the maximum money in your pocket, then I'm your guy. You reach out to me, just go to taxcodeadvisors.com. You can set up a free discovery call. I can talk to you from there, or just send me a quick message on WhatsApp, and we can connect that way as well. All right. Thank you so much, guys, for spending your last 10-15 minutes with me. I'll see you next time.